Hey everybody, Daniel here. Hope we're doing good. Welcome back to Apologetics 101. We're doing the question, is there evidence for God? Today we're making the claim that objective morality, objective right and wrongs, are evidence for God. Let me explain what I mean by that. We know there are things that are objectively wrong, like murder or genocide or slavery, and things are objectively right, such as helping someone or feeding a hungry child. We know there's a difference between these. We know there's objective wrongs and rights. The cross board. But the question is, what is the grounding and foundation of those rights and wrongs? I'm going to be laying out three ways people try to explain the foundation or grounding of objective rights and wrongs. And I'm going to be showing how, in fact, objective rights and wrongs are grounded in God and are evidence for God. Are evidence for God and grounding in God. Alright, so the first way people try to explain objective rights and wrongs is they say it's founded or grounded in the individual. But if it's grounded or found in the individual, that's just a matter of personal opinion. Your opinion, my opinion. And if it's just between opinions, we can never determine what's right and wrong. We can never say what they did was wrong because that's their opinion. And so we know this is absurd. There's no grounding or foundation of what is moral or what's right and wrong. And that's why when I laid out the difference between genocide and feeding a hungry child, we know there's a difference. We know one's right and one's wrong. And why? Because it's not based in the individual, all right? It's based in something outside of the individual. So people might be like, oh, they go to the second point. They're like, maybe not the individual, maybe it's the culture. Maybe culture determines what's right and wrong. Well, what if you have two cultures that have two definitions of right or wrong? Well, what do we do then? And going back to World War II, you would not have any reason or any grounding that the West should have interfered with what's happening with Nazi Germany, because that was their culture. But we know the West should have, and they did, because what Nazi Germany was doing was objectively wrong. And so a culture cannot determine, or isn't the definition, or isn't the grounding for moral right and wrong. And again, majority never determines morality. Majority never determines morality. That's why you have people like Martin Luther King Jr. or William Wilberforce who went against the majority because they appealed to a higher law. They knew the individual or the culture or majority didn't determine right and wrong, rather something outside of them, something that was higher than them did. And the third way people try to explain objective right and wrongs is human flourishing. And say, well, if it helps humanity to flourish, then it has to be right. Well, my question is, whose definition of human flourishing? Is it Hitler's definition of human flourishing or Mother Teresa's definition of human flourishing? You see what I mean? We're back to, again, personal opinion. And personal opinion is no foundation or grounding for morality or objective right and wrong. Now, as we're dealing with this, it's important to understand that humanity is only morally obligated to other persons. What I mean by that is if you break a chair, you're not going to prison. But if you murder and torture someone, you are going to prison. There's a difference. Why? Because we're morally obligated to persons, not objects. Therefore, whatever the grounding or foundation of moral right and wrongs has to be something that is outside of the individual, something is outside of culture, something is outside of everything else. And also, whatever this grounding, whatever this is, has to be a person or persons and not an object. You see what I'm saying here? It can't be an object. Therefore, the best explanation for more objective morality, objective right and wrong, is God. Because when we appeal to something that is right or something that is wrong, we're appealing to a moral law that is above individual, that is above culture. We're appealing to God, the moral lawgiver. The moral law is only there because there's a moral lawgiver. So objective morality does exist, but it only can exist because God exists. Therefore, objective morality, objective right and wrong is evidence for God and is based in God. All right, I hope to see you guys next week. You guys have a good day.